Valley, hooey Hollywood. Where any
Welcome in, everybody. It's October. It's late October. So we're finally getting spooky with that movie show.
Yeah. That
Look,
spooky show.
It's 2020. Well, the world is fucked up. We had a weird scheduling thing where we just wanted to cover those 3 comedy movies. Now we can get spooky. So we're going to rush out these 2 episodes for you as we get spooky.
Yeah. Well, we also blew our load last year when we did like the entirety of a series for 1 week where it was we did just all the Jason movies.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even intentionally do that. It was like, that's just my OCD watching horror movies at fucking October where, yeah, it's like we were going to do the first movie in each of those franchises. We had Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, one other. And yeah, because for years I've done the October Horror Movie Challenge. And it started many, many years ago. A little backstory. And it started many years ago on this website called DVDtalk.com. It was a message board site for DVD collectors and stuff. And every year they would, you have a whole thread about, watch 100 horror movies in 31 days, starting at dusk on September 30th and dawn on November 1st. There you go, the whole month of October. And for years I've done it. Some months I crushed it. Some months, especially when I was working overnights and I had like 7 hours of nothingness, I'd pound out 7 hours of horror movies and then I'd go home and watch more of them. There was days I would watch 15 movies, sometimes 15's exaggeration.
Yeah.
I think I topped out at 8 movies in one day. But I did it more than once type of thing.
Right.
Like there were days I would do like the whole Blade trilogy and then all the Paranormal Activities and stuff like that in one fucking day. So that's kind of why we inadvertently covered the entire series of movies last year. But I think based on the theme of this show, it's worth revisiting some of the sequels down the road.
Jason X.
Jason X, that's one of them. I was going to say Halloween Resurrection, starring Tyra Banks and Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
A Halloween classic.
Yes, a Halloween classic. You recently asked for one. What movie did I recommend to you? There was like a weird obscure horror movie that I recommended to you because like people this time of year
the Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, I watched it
with Emile Hirsch
and Brian Cox. The scenes in the autopsy room were really well done. Right. And it was really cool, and it was building to a cool premise. It seemed like the 2 actors couldn't give less of a shit that they were in the movie because when they had to be scared, they were like, oh no, a ghost.
Yeah.
I'm getting scale for this?
Yeah, right.
Right. There was very little effort put into the acting from 2 really great actors, in my opinion anyway. And yeah, it was like once they left the autopsy room, I tuned out. And it was like I don't know. I liked the premise. I liked the story. Hello.
Ooh.
Oh,
there it is.
Damn party.
Somebody was
goddamn kids, call Clint Eastwood, get his rifle.
Yeah. Somebody just doesn't agree with your take of Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah, I mean, it's on Netflix, so what else are we going to do? It's not a long movie. It's, worth a watch. Give it a watch, I guess. Like I said, the autopsy scenes were cool as shit.
Yeah.
Like wow, that was really... And when they started, like, investigating and finding, like, the piece of cloth, and then they, like, when they started, like, I don't know, fucking...
Peeling back the body?
Well, putting the pieces together of who this person is and why she's in the state that she's in.
Right.
And you found this and why the inside of her body looked burnt to a crisp, yet the outside was like pristine skin, even though she was potentially buried for 30 years or something like that.
Right, something nuts.
And then they started putting all the clues together. Loved all of that.
Yeah, right.
Like I said, the stuff in the autopsy room I loved. And it seemed like the only time the actors were working was when they were in that room. And it was almost like you felt like, oh, well, give actors toys and they'll play. You know,
Yeah,
they had a
right.
bunch of props and a bunch of shit all over the place, and they could really move around the room
Right.
and really
Well, and
have
we
fun
get a
with it.
lot
Then
of the.
they
We
don't
get a
have to be
lot of
scary, and it's like, the scares just didn't work.
right. Well, and a big thing too is that there was more emotional weight between this father and son inside that room.
Right.
You know, so there was that too. There was more acting that
That's
needed
good.
to be done as
Yeah.
opposed to just like, oh, I have to react to nothing.
Yeah, a mist.
Yeah. So there was that. I got another one for you.
Okay.
Did you watch Puka on Hulu?
Never heard of Puka.
So basically, I forget what the deal was, but I think it was called Huluween. But a few years ago, Hulu did a thing where they just kept releasing.
Before we go on, it reminds me, don't watch Hubie Halloween on Netflix.
Oh
So,
no!
Like, I
No.
did it so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Adam Sandler was being serious when he said if he didn't get the Oscar for Uncut Gems, he'd make the worst movie ever, but he did it. Go on.
Oh yeah. So
I feel bad because it was shot it locally, and we knew a bunch of people that were involved in it, but fuck that movie.
Okay, so technically, it was a part of an anthology series that was on Hulu called Into the Dark.
Yeah, I think Blumhouse is behind it, right?
Yeah, Blumhouse is behind
Yeah.
it. And so the series, if I remember correctly, was like released over the course of like a few months. And so like it was one movie or show
Yeah.
every week. And Puka is one of them, and it was
Okay.
the Christmas one. And so that was really good. I really
now that you say it, I do know what you're talking about, and I have a bunch of them on my list or whatever Hulu
Yeah.
calls their feature. But yeah, I definitely gonna check. So Puka's a good one though.
I liked Puka.
Give Puka a watch. There you go. That's how I pick my movies. Okay, want to do the
Well,
30
you
day
got to watch
challenge?
100 of them.
Yeah, well, this year I'm okay. So to bring it full circle, this year I'm pumping the brakes. Because here's the thing. Like I said, when I was working overnights, I had to be awake,
Right.
for 7 straight hours in the middle of the night. Of course, I'm going to watch movies. Now, most people would say, yeah, but Mike, you're unemployed in the middle of a pandemic. What else are you going to fucking do? I'm going to watch movies. Again, we talked about it last week. Finding things we enjoy.
Right.
And watching, it doesn't sound like a lot, but as someone who's not only done this movie challenge, but also done food challenges that didn't sound really daunting and did them.
Yeah, remember that time you ate drank that spicy martini?
That was one. I was the first thing I ever filmed was 6 pounds of barbecue and a shovel, and I watched people do it on YouTube, and I'm like, yeah, no big deal, got this.
Did not got this.
I was in pain for a week after that fucking shoot, and I didn't even finish. Yeah, it was rough. No insurance is not good. It's for the horror movie challenge. It's literally an endurance test. Like it doesn't sound that hard, but when you do the math and you work out how you can fit 100 movies into 31 days, and especially once you become an adult, it's even harder because life.
Yeah, right. Oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, so it's I'm pumping the brakes on the whole challenge bit this year, and just kind of watching things I either know I'm going to enjoy or trying new things like getting suggestions from you, like Autopsy of Jane Doe, which despite the review, I don't want to make it sound like it was all bad. Like I said, the Autopsy shit was really good.
I 100% agree with your assessment.
And it's on Netflix, so watch it.
Right. It's on Netflix. If you're looking for a scary Halloween movie, this is a perfect one. It's going to be interesting. But I would agree. Is like, Emil Hirsch is a fantastic actor. And then he leaves the part where he has to do acting to be like spooky scared. And it's just like, oh, this is a low budget Netflix horror movie. No, thank you.
Girlfriend subplot was absurd.
Yes.
And just didn't work. I literally had to rewind her death to figure out that it was her. I'm like, Wait, what just happened? Where did that axe come from? Oh, boo.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
I made me rewind movie.
I gotcha.
And it's on Netflix, so it's on easy rewind like a fucking videotape. Oh shit! I'm at the beginning of the movie now.
Yeah. Oh man, I went back 5 scenes. Damn it!
God damn it! I went back 2 years. Now I gotta start this pandemic over again.
Oh, that's the worst.
I'm married and I'm employed again. What the fuck?
It's the worst. And the worst part about that is that you're watching it and you got to sit through the commercials again.
All right, 30-day film challenge.
Yes.
Different film challenge that we actually did, which was a hell of a lot easier. You didn't have to watch movies, just post pictures of them.
Yeah, just movie posters.
Since we're doing a spooky movie today, Day 13 falls on it. How about that?
Oh, how appropriate.
Terrible segue. A film that put you in deep thoughts, plural, apparently.
Yeah, thoughts. So my movie is, so everybody that works in the entertainment industry has this movie, right? And it's the movie that made them be like, oh, I want to do that. And
that way.
and so everybody has that movie. If you don't, then you're a weird person. But for the most part, everybody in this industry
Then
has
you think
that.
this job is easy and get rich quick.
Yeah.
Dick.
You're a dick. But this is so when I saw Deep Thought, that's immediately where my mind jumped to was I'm going to talk about the movie that basically is that for me, and that is The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is an incredibly important movie to me. It's obviously not the first movie I ever saw, but I remember being so overwhelmed when you're watching that movie because as a child, especially a child living in the 90s, right? You're looking at TV and everything's in color, right? Black and white, when you saw that on the TV, it was like, oh, that's gross. Oh, that's stupid because I'm, 5.
The 80s thought that, so calm the fuck down there, youngster.
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying it's exclusive to 90s children, but I'm just saying that, like, in the 80s as well, color TV was like a thing, right? Like it was.
It's like a baby's toy.
So when I finally get involved, I remember being tuned out to the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, right? It's in black and white. I had to sit through the front credits of that movie because back then the credits were in the beginning. And so I'm watching that movie, and then all of a sudden she gets picked up by the tornado, and she opens that door to the Munchkin City, and everything is in color. Yeah. And I just remember getting hit with such a wave of like emotion, just being so shocked that this all of a sudden like came into color and such vibrant, beautiful color that it was like, oh, I want to give this emotion to people. I want other people to feel the way that this is making me feel right now. And so that is why I chose The Wizard of Oz.
I went in a little different direction.
Yeah.
For my deep thoughts. That's a good one, though. I didn't think about that. Mine is the Spike Jonze movie from 2013, Her, starring Joaquin Phoenix and the voice of Scarlett Johansson.
The Phone.
That was first of all, I love the movie. It's an underrated movie. I don't think it gets talked about or watched enough. It's on Netflix. But I remember I watched it for the first time. I was like, wow, like this was 2013. This is 7 years ago. And it's really, really relevant, especially coming into how we're living in the pandemic now, where a lot of relationships are virtual. Maybe you're not, I mean, some people do fuck robots, so so I can't even say that, but, but like people are having virtual relationships with people. It takes that long distance relationship to a very modern level where, people go sometimes lifetimes where they have best friends or significant others, and they potentially will never meet them for one reason or another. Now, his situation was he was in a relationship with his operating system on his phone, which in the context of that movie was a reality. That was, that was part of the feature. And because of the AI, it became a very real relationship where his girlfriend, aka his phone, outgrew him basically. Became smarter than him and was basically seeing other operating systems.
Yeah. That's right.
But it's like when I was like, oh, a deep thought movie, like I'm not a big thinker. I'll be the first to fucking admit that.
Sure.
And some of the movies we choose are kind of evident of that. Hence today, Ernest Scared Stupid. we don't get too deep on this show, but I do enjoy movies that do make me think and feel and shit like that. And this movie was one of those, like, this isn't far off. You know what I mean? When, like, we did a review very early on in the show, might have been like the 5th or 6th episode, of the silly version of this, which was Demolition Man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But again, once you get past the Sly Stallone silly shit, again, a very realistic movie in current time. I mean, they basically invented Skype in that movie.
Yeah, they did.
You know what I mean? And the no touching policy we all have now.
It's and we ran out of toilet paper, so we almost had to do the 3 seashells.
I gave it a try. I actually have my seashell right here.
Oh, okay.
It's a little small, but so's my butthole.
Yeah, right.
Overshare.
Mike's got a little butthole. Now we all know that.
Now you all know. But a movie like this takes it on definitely a more serious tone, and again, it's Joaquin Phoenix diving headfirst into a role that is people think of Joaquin Phoenix, they think of a certain type, they think of the guy on Letterman going batshit or now Joker and stuff like that, and this is a complete departure from the Joaquin Phoenix persona that he's cultivated, and it's really well done. I highly recommend checking this movie out. Again, another one that's on Netflix, and what the fuck, you already paid for the subscription.
Yeah, right, of course. There's another movie, just as like a generic recommendation, something that I saw that I really want to watch, because I think you saw it as well, and that's Class Action Park, the HBO Max original, and oh man, so good. So good.
I have thoughts. When they first put the trailer out, my immediate thought went to, that's kind of like that Johnny Knoxville movie that came out a couple years ago. So I went and I looked it up. It was on Amazon Prime, called Action Point, which was based on that part.
Yes.
When I did enough, I'm like, oh yeah, so okay, the two are connected. Watched it, and I think we've talked about this when we talked a little bit about Bad Grades. I think I referenced this movie as well. There's good stuff, and then there's like, oh, Knoxville's just old, man. Stop it. Stop hurting yourself, please.
Yeah. Yes.
You've entertained us enough, Johnny. You don't have to keep.
Yeah, your balls have suffered enough.
Like, how much sperm is frozen because you don't have any left? Anywho, I got HBO Max and I watched that, the documentary, and while I really liked it for like the first half to 2/3, there was a chunk of it that it wasn't bad. I'm not trying to discourage anyone. It wasn't bad. It just felt very local, and like I think when it felt like it was dragging on, it was because I didn't grow up in New Jersey around this park, and there was a lot of like really personal local accounts of this park.
Right.
And then they got into the dark shit with the families of the people that died, and it's just like. And now I'm just sad, and I don't really get it because I didn't live there or grow up around this park.
That's the
fun and shenanigans of it. Loved it. The wackiness of this insane person who is creating a water park with beer and pot. It's like, all in.
Yeah, because I wholeheartely agree, because they talk about it as if it's Disney World, right? That everyone's been there. And the only reason I know about it is because I follow a lot of like theme park YouTube channels, and so there's a lot of these types of channels, Defunct Land, Theme Park History, those type of channels, and they covered Action Park before. And so obviously their 15-minute video about Action Park just is going to leave a lot of stuff out, especially with like, they're not going to have the same type of, attention to detail that a full-on documentary is going to have, but watching that, I do wholeheartedly agree that it was just like, there was a lot of like, oh man, you had to live in Jersey. And it was just like, oh, well, I won.
In a very particular part of Jersey, and you had to be of a certain age and have parents willing to allow you to go.
Yeah,
so it's like I agree 100% with what you said. It's like as they depicted it as a place that everyone knew, it was a very small portion of the population that actually knew of this place outside of maybe folklore and legend.
Right, because it's like, imagine if we started talking about, what is it, Wayland Park?
Sure,
You know,
that's one. Water
you,
Country.
you know what I mean?
What if
Canopy
Water
Lakes
Country
Park?
killed people? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
What if Water
Canopy-
Country killed people?
Yeah, I mean, again, Canopy Lake Park. We can talk about it with anyone that grew up here, and it would be like Disney World. But you tell it to somebody that grew up, I don't know,
Arizona,
Virginia, fucking Florida, anywhere outside of New England, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about."
I have no idea what you're talking
I get
about.
your reference that the Cyclone was a big wooden roller coaster, but I wasn't there, dude.
Yeah, right. I didn't go.
I
And
can
so,
follow your
like,
story. I just don't relate to it.
yeah, so it was crazy when, they're talking about like the debauchery that ended up happening from people that were there, and that was really cool. But then, yeah, it got real sad where it was just like, yeah, he died. And then, like, because he worked at the sister ski resort like 3 years prior, they categorized him as an employee, so they didn't have to report that his death was a thing. And it's just like, oh my God. And then, like, the end of it is just like a drone shot of the cemetery. It's like, holy shit. Like, oh, that was sad, but it's very good, and you should watch it.
Yeah, aside from the little parts, it's really good. Ernest?
Yes.
Time to get spooky with Ernest?
Time to get stupid spooky.
From Touchstone Pictures, monstrous trolls have sprung to life.
I sure hope you're from Gable.
And now Ernest P. Worrell is springing into action. He'll try anything
I know Tai Chi Kung Fu, chow mein.
and everything
Your shoes untied.
to save the day.
It's showtime.
It's Ernest P. Worrell in a brand new movie, Ernest Scared Stupid.
How about a bumper sandwich, booger lips? Know what I mean?
Starts Friday, October 11th at a theater near you.
Ernest Scared Stupid was released October 11th, 1991. It was actually the fourth and final movie ever released in theaters with Ernest. He had a 4-picture deal with Disney. And this was the final movie that the rest of them, which we referenced earlier, the rest of them were released straight to video. Some of them I thought were probably bigger because I worked in video stores and I remember the box art like vividly, especially the Ernest Goes to Africa one. I remember that box art like it's yesterday. But yeah, they were straight to video releases. This was the final in theater Ernest movie. It had a budget of $9.6 million. It came back with 14.1 at the box office, which is why it was the final release. It didn't do well. It was a disappointment.
Yeah.
It was written by Charlie Gale and Coke Sams. I swear that's a real name. The story, just to make a joke out of it, was by John Cherry and Coke Sams. So, story by Cherry Coke.
Yep.
You're welcome. Ba-dum-bum. Directed by John Cherry.
Rimshot, like the dog.
Rimshot, like the dog. There we go. Pulling it together. And of course, it stars Jim Varney as Ernest, and also Eartha Kitt, 60s TV Batman's Catwoman.
I loved seeing Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt. You look at her in this movie and think, wow, people in the 60s used to masturbate to that.
Yeah, it's true. That is true.
Ernest might be a family film. We're not a family show, kids.
Yikes.
All right. Yeah, so let me say, and this could be because I'm actually I'm having a good mental week. Like I'm in an okay place mentally this week.
How dare you?
I enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
It's far from the worst movie we've ever reviewed in this show. And for as I've been toting it, a spooky family Halloween sit down and watch, it's actually pretty good.
Right. I have the...
In context, it's pretty good.
Right. I have the ability, and I'm not saying that you don't, but I have the ability to basically enjoy any movie if I know what I'm getting myself into. You know what I mean?
I do as well.
So, sitting down and watching Caddyshack, I know that I'm going to watch an adult comedy, right? And I know what I'm getting into when I'm going to watch Caddyshack. And it's the same thing.
Visual cocaine.
Yeah, watch visual cocaine for an hour and a half. And Rodney Dangerfield just, Rodney the whole time.
That's a verb now.
Yeah. And then I sit down and I watch Ernest Scared Stupid. And it's like, I know exactly what I'm looking for, what I'm going to get. And it's like, the same reason I would watch, and I know you don't like this movie, but it's like, I'm going to get the same charm out of it that I would get out of Hocus Pocus, that I would get out of Halloween Town. Like, yes, this, I love it because it's Tim Curry singing at the end. And it's the fucking funniest thing in the world, but it's the worst witch, like, I know what I'm getting into and I can enjoy it because it's not a slasher horror movie, but it's still very festive.
I agree. I do a similar thing with different movies. My thing with Hocus Pocus, it's not. I don't know. Hocus Pocus. You can go back and watch our episode, please. Everybody else has. It's problems with it because there was a lot of moments in it, and I don't know if we must have been off camera when we were talking about this, but stuff that took me out of the movie, like Kathy Najimy's character knowing what baked haddock was. That wasn't a thing when she died.
Yeah,
you don't know what the smell of baked haddock is, so don't force a joke. You know what I mean? Don't fuck with your continuity just to force a joke. And that's kind of why I said off air that I like this movie better than that movie, because it's like, in the context of this Ernest world, right, everything is like, everything works. They don't veer off just to make a joke. And I sent you a text when I was watching it being like, in this world, it's established the dog can drive. I completely buy into this little dog driving multiple trucks in this movie. It just
works. Sure.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? God, no, they got me saying it. But I would say if I had to pull a real problem out of it, like something that was bothering me the entire movie,
yes,
it was the actor playing the sheriff.
Oh, he was awful. Sheriff
Cliff is a bad actor, and
when you texted me that, and this just shows you where we are, in the world. Yeah. But when you said bad actor, I thought it was one of those like, conspiracy theory, like trauma actor situations where people say that they've been a part of things. And I was just like, wow, that's really deep. And oh no, he means he's a bad actor is in the context of the movie. He's poor at acting. Oh, okay.
Right. No, he's poor at acting. He's poor at his craft. And the actor is Daniel Butler. And the best way I can describe it, and this is a movie and a series of movies that prides itself on hamming it up.
Oh, like, yeah.
Every
the split personality thing.
Over the top. Eartha Kitt is basically playing Doc Brown in this movie. Yeah. It's bonkers. This guy stood out as a bad actor because it's day one amateur. The writer had a cousin who they wanted to put in the movies. It's hey, you get your damn hands off her. But in Back to the Future, he was supposed to be bad acting type of thing in that scene. Yeah. It's what the thing that always pulls me out. The actor doesn't know what to do with his hand. And every syllable, he points at something in the scene or off camera. And if you're not watching this on video, I'm miming what the actor does.
He just described.
And it's all of this. And it's like, dude, you can just let your arms hang. And it's like, she went to the school. And it's like, dude, you're not we get it. You can say it without literally dramatically wailing your arm to behind you. We don't care where the school is in reference to you at this fucking moment. Here's the problem I had with it. Once I did research on it, it would be acceptable if this was his first and only acting job on his resume.
Oh no, I didn't look at it.
Apparently Daniel Butler is a friend of Jim Varney. He was a writer on the Ernest TV shows. He wrote Slam Dunk Ernest, the movie, and he was an actor.
Wait, hold on. One of these movies is called Slam Dunk Ernest.
It was the 1995, one of the straight-to-video ones. It was with Kareem on the cover.
Oh, no. Ah, that's amazing.
So he wrote a lot of the Ernest stuff with Jim Varney, and he was an actor in a lot of the Ernest movies and some other random TV movie stuff. He is, according to the internet, still alive. Hasn't worked since 2015, which is still far too long, unless he's gotten better. But but a lot of it's Ernest stuff, especially the TV series that he was in and wrote for, which you asked, I think maybe off air,
yes,
where Ernest came from.
Yeah.
So the Ernest character started on a is it a video series or a TV show? I believe it was a character Jim Varney created.
Yeah.
That was the best way I can put it was it's like a southern version of Pee Wee Herman.
Right. That's exactly like I've seen.
And where Pee Wee started
movies.
on TV, so did Ernest, kind of. The original one was 1983. It was a video or made-for-TV special or something like that, a sketch comedy type of thing called Not a Mean Hey Vern, It's My Family Album.
Okay.
Was the title of it. And then the Ernest character just kind of, it was endearing, it was family-friendly, and it just kind of became Jim Varney's thing. It showed up in a lot of, even when he was trying to do other stuff, like he did this another weird straight-to-video sketch kind of thing. I don't even know what to call these. They weren't on TV, but they weren't in movies. They were just video series called Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam. Now, because of the popularity of Ernest, he's been front and center on the cover, but he was just it was like a Ernest.
He was like in the
sketch.
beginning of it, from what I realized. Yeah.
But it became Jim Varney's Pee Wee Herman to the point that where you watch it, and as someone who has dabbled in the acting arts, you want to think you think of it from the actor's point of view. It's like almost a blessing and a curse type situation.
Oh yeah.
Where, it's a blessing because this is your career, this is your profession, and you're making a shit ton of money because you're constantly working. He was in commercials, he was in TV shows, he was in television specials, he had holiday specials, he had movies in theaters, on video, etc., etc., etc. Like I said, he had a 4-picture deal with Disney at one point in the 90s.
Right.
So he, as a career actor, he was making money. But as an artist, there's moments where he had to been like, I wish I was doing something else.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Like it's a weird thing to say, but getting caught jerking off was probably the best thing that happened to Paul Rubens, because he was able to break off the Pee Wee character for a while and do stuff like Blow and do stuff like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where he wasn't anywhere near being Pee Wee Herman. You know, eventually people forgave him because everyone jerks off, and we came back around to make some money with Pee Wee. But he was able to explore other things. It's to a completely different, more awful degree. It's kind of the Mel Gibson thing, where once the Mel Gibson shit came out, that his views are not in line with most people.
No.
But as a creative person, he was able to go off and do stuff like Get the Gringo and The Bloodfather, which are fantastic movies.
Right.
And
The Beaver, right? Is that the name of that?
Yeah, he did that with Jodie Foster. Even the one that I was fucking cut out of because he got into a fight with Robert De Niro on the set. That's a true story. Edge of Darkness.
Yeah.
I was playing a thug at the Gannon Golf Course, and it was going to be De Niro's first day of shooting. And because of creative differences, some kind of fight happened. De Niro quit the movie. We got sent home for the day and never got called back because he got recast with Ray Winstone. And they changed the scenes. But fuck it.
Right.
The check still cleared. It wasn't going to make my career. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And I got to say I was on a Mel Gibson movie, which is pretty.
That is pretty good. But you're right. It does suck when you kind of get pigeonholed into this type of character. I mean, to be fair, right? Because
again, this is your job, and I'm sure the check's cleared. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. But at the same time, I mean, he did kind of, he was able to do other things. He was Slinky Dog.
Yes.
He was also in High Noon at Mega Mountain, the third, what's it called?
Ninjas with Hulk Hogan?
That's the one with Hulk Hogan. I absolutely hate that movie because Three Ninjas was a very big, my sister and I growing up, we absolutely loved the Three Ninjas franchise. And this is the third one, or it's the fourth one. This is the fourth one. and it stars Hulk Hogan, and I was into wrestling when it came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm totally into this. But then they changed all three of the kids. Hulk Hogan sucked, and Jim Varney was in it. It was very a hodgepodge weird thing.
Look at that hairpiece on Hulk.
Yeah,
Holy
a woman.
Shit.
Lonnie Anderson, who for the longest time I thought was Dolly Parton.
Look, Lonnie Anderson forever will be the ex Mrs. Burt Reynolds.
Yeah,
That's kind of how she became a thing. She was also on one of those shows like Dallas or some shit.
yeah.
She
was in the
WKRP
Cincinnati
in
one.
Cincinnati. Yeah, WKRP in Cincinnati. She was the busty blonde in that one.
Yeah,
And then
but,
she
yeah.
Burt Reynolds and famously divorced him.
Yeah, he was also in the a very, very underrated Atlantis Lost Empire. It's an animated Disney movie, and it's pretty great.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah, it's yes, and that's a credit to Jim Varney, and you can see it even in this movie that he is a wildly talented character actor.
yes,
He does a bunch of them. And you mentioned the multiple personalities scene where it was rapid fire. I mean, it was very Weird Al Yankovic-y is what I got. Especially like the UHF movie he did.
right.
It was similar to that. But even the fact that once it started, and again, I don't consciously remember ever sitting down and watching this, like actually watch. Like I'm sure it's been on in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
Or when I was at the video store, I had it on or something like that. But he's in the opening scene playing this like 1800s version of his ancestor.
Right.
And it's like, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be one of those type of movies. Okay, cool. And knowing that he, it's again, Jim Varney's an actor. Like when you would see him in interviews, he wasn't like Paul Rubens when he would do interviews would be Pee Wee Herman. He lived
Right.
When Jim Varney would go out and do interviews, he was Jim Varney, actor.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't it wasn't Ernest with his hat and his vest on. It's like he was. It's like that's a guy. So there was the conscious effort to separate the character from the actor. It just the character kept making money.
Yeah,
And especially I mean. Once you're looking at if you look at his IMDb, Jim Varney's, it's like once Disney got their hooks in him, he was all Disney. Like his early 90s is all Disneyland's 35th anniversary special, Wonderful World of Disney, Disney animated storybook. And that was also in part because he did Slinky Dog in Toy Story in 94.
Right.
But he was still doing Ernest shit in 94.
I think
so
98 is the last one.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah. I was talking more like Disney Ernest.
Oh, but yeah, no. Once Disney got their hooks in him, he was Ernest. That was it. It's like, we see it now when you see the like Disney like Christmas Day parade where they have people like come in. They have celebrities now, but he would have slotted in
everybody on an ABC show. It's still there. They're still doing the same shit. They haven't broke their mold.
Right.
There's a reason the cast of Modern Family is always at Disney World.
Correct. Right.
ABC show.
Right. And so Ernest would be there.
Right.
Like Ernest would be hosting a segment on, talking to Goofy.
Absolutely. And again, for your career, I'm sure the paychecks were good. You know what I mean? Getting a 4-picture deal from Disney is not a bad move for an actor.
No.
You know what I mean? Especially when you created the character.
Yeah,
right. That's money. When people when you create something.
Yeah, don't get angry. We like this movie.
I'll also say another positive praise of it. The effects were good.
Yeah.
Like that $9 million was put on screen. It wasn't like Jim Varney was clearing $5 million paychecks for this movie. The money was put into the effects, and that lead troll, the effects on it, the animatronic shit was awesome.
Oh, that troll looked fantastic from start to finish, and it's really tough, especially in a kids movie like that, where he could have looked like the other trolls, and even the other trolls in this movie weren't bad.
I'll get to the other trolls that have a little bit of a backstory too, and I picked up on it watching it. I'm like, hey, that looks like, and it was the troll. The again, blessing and a curse type situation. The effects were really good. They're also a lot of people attribute the failure of this movie at the box office to the fact that word of mouth spread that this was too scary for kids.
Oh, okay.
And that's why parents wouldn't bring their kids out to the movie theater. Hence, this movie didn't do well in the theater. Hence, Disney dropped the contract. And that was it. Like, we're done with it. You can go play with straight-to-video shit because you're not making any money. Now, granted, the Ernest movies were on a downslope. You know, each one made less and less, but this was a drastic drop-off that they're like...
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
And a lot of people attributed it to it was too scary for kids.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It is. It is. Because it's... But again, it's weird. I've been looking at things through a wildly different light because my brother has a 3-year-old. And he has a very similar taste in movies as I do. You know, he also, we talked about the 100 horror movie challenge. He would also do it with me before he was his father, when he had more time with his life.
Yeah, sure.
But talking to him now and seeing how he views movies that we thought, you know, even Disney movies, like Ursula, it's very scary for a 2-year-old girl.
Yes.
And it's like, and it's stuff that, like, I'm not a parent. I don't, you know, so I don't think that way. I'm like, it's, you know, good guy, you know, there's got to be bad guys. It's like, no, she's like terrified of it. Like, we can't, because he was asking me, he's like, is there any way to edit around Ursula? Because I want to show her the Little Mermaid, but she's terrified. So I'm like, no, just wait a year. Wait a year, bring it to the parks when we can go back to parks and stuff. And we'll show her the ride.
I actually saw some, just because this is we've just been talking about Disney because this is a Disney movie. I was looking at some stuff that's on Disney Plus. There are some like deep cuts that are going to be pretty good. Where it's like a Black Hole was like their first horror movie that they tried to make. So like all of their animation started to dip, and they thought that it was because their audience was getting older and they were like looking for more mature content. So they tried to make something kind of spooky, scary. And the guy who plays Norman Bates in the original Psycho movie plays the lead in this movie about this like ship, like spaceship that's like going into a black hole. It's called The Black Hole. But it looks absolutely bananas.
2006, I'm guessing.
No.
Or 1979.
1979.
I was going to say he died in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, 1979. And so there's that one. Yeah, and so there's like that, you know, kind of talk to this like idea of it was too.
I do know that cover. Yeah,
and it was too scary.
That's how I visualize things.
It was too scary, and then the other one was Watcher in the Woods.
Okay,
and that's the same type of deal where it's just like, yeah, I remember watching that movie and be terrified, and then I bet if I watched it now, it wouldn't be scary at all.
Yeah, I mean, there was stuff like that. Like I remember. It was a made-for-TV movie, and I want to say it was. Is Babes in Toyland associated with Alice in Wonderland?
No, but
they're two different things. Because I was
one has Keanu Reeves in it.
I know, and Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
And which one has the Jabberwocky?
I think that's Babes in Toyland.
Okay, I remember as a kid watching that on TV. And the Jabberwocky shit scared the piss out of me.
Oh, the Jabberwockies is from Return to Oz, the sequel.
That's Mumby when she had the heads.
No, you're talking about the people on the roller skates. They were like on the roller skates. And
I know what you're talking about. I don't believe those are called Jabberwockies.
I thought they were.
No, Jabberwocky is. Because Monty Python did a movie on the Jabberwocky as well, and it's like a big demony dragon type of thing from God, it's from Alice in Wonderland. Okay.
Oh,
so it was like a made for TV retelling of Alice in Wonderland thing, but they included that scene. It scared the hell out of me. Like again, it's one of those things where the effects are almost too good for the type of movie you're doing. Where it's like if the effects were shittier. It wouldn't have been as scary. Like bringing it back to Ernest, it's like that scene where the troll is in the girl's bed is fucking terrifying. Like she rolls all, like if you're looking at through the eyes of a kid watching this, and this this girl who's our female lead in this movie. It rolls over and she thinks she's going to go to sleep with her teddy bear. And there's this slimy, snorting, growling,
ugly troll.
big-headed fucking two-nosed troll thing. It's going to eat her.
Yeah. The boy reminded me, our lead boy, reminded me of the lead from Monster Squad.
Yes, very much. I think it's the haircut.
Yeah.
It was very of the time.
The 80s heroic boy haircut.
Yeah, it kind of. I think Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting was the last one to have that haircut.
Yeah,
but that haircut, if you're trying to visual reference. The other trolls, I mentioned them. So when I was watching it, and there was two specifically, and they just happened to be on camera together, and I'm like, oh, those look very much. And I didn't know if it was an homage until the end credits popped up, but it wasn't. They looked very much like Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay. Yeah, they did.
And and it was like two very specific ones. They looked like the lead clowns from that movie. And I'm like, and I thought it, and then the scene rolled on, and I'm like, okay, I moved on with my life. But then the end credits pop up, and the first credit is thanking the Chiodo brothers. And I'm like, they created, wait a minute, Google.
Yep.
So basically what happened was, for all those other trolls, they went and got the heads and the costumes from Killer Clowns from Outer Space and repainted them.
Okay, that's why they.
All right, and they had it was literally that things, and because the Chiodo brothers, I hope I'm saying that right, created the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, they got the first credit at the end of the movie. A special thank you to the Chiodo brothers for.
Good for them. Yeah.
So. I mean, the movie's one of those things. It's a spooky Halloween movie. It's family entertainment. But again, and we talked about when the fuck did what movie were we referencing? Oh, last week, Caddyshack, where we were talking about them not establishing stuff like, did all these people just live on the golf course? But in this movie, it's like everything that happens is absurd.
Oh, absurd. Everything.
But it's believable because they establish it as part of this world. And as you mentioned, a lot of these characters, I didn't know this until, again, doing a little bit of research, are reoccurring characters. The two brothers who are doing a commercial, and they own, I guess, a hardware store, but they also have a whole bunch of anti-troll equipment.
Yeah, so those guys, I remember, like...
They changed the actor, though. I read that. Of the fatter brother. I don't know how to describe it. There's an old guy that plays the drums, and then there's the lead brother. And the lead brother was somebody else for years.
I just remember, because I remember watching, the one that I liked the most was Ernest Goes to Camp. That was the one I liked the most. But I just remember them being in that as well. And they always had the thing he was looking for. They sold the thing that he was looking for. You know?
So this is the running gag.
Yeah. You know, they were MacGuffin people.
They were like big and little Enos Burdett in the Smokey and the Bandit movies.
Yeah.
Less villainy.
Less villainy. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. It's just so wholesome. Because Ernest is just so stupid. And everybody knows just how stupid he is. Which is really...
It's every little part of this. And I know I said it before, I sent you the text. It's like, I completely buy into this dog driving this truck because it's established this world is absurd.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And nobody's questioning it because this is the village idiot and this is the world we're telling.
Right. This is who he is.
Said, Ernest is kind of the southern version of Pee-wee. And immediately that was the first thought I had in the once we get to Ernest, after we get that we're burying the troll scene in the 1800s, and we get to Ernest, it was like, oh, so it's like a dumber version of Pee-wee, because in the opening of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, he's got that big contraption that literally just makes him a bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
Ernest has a contraption. I don't know what the fuck it's supposed to do.
I think clean those trash cans.
It's like 8 trash buckets full of soapy water and mops getting dipped in. It looked like it was going to be like a mobile car washing thing, but it has something to do with sanitation. Because he's a garbage man, and he's talking about how much of a genius sanitations officer he is and all that shit. Yeah. And then it goes to hell. It breaks immediately.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, oh, yeah, okay. So it's kind of like, and it made me curious, were these two kind of running parallel to each other, the Ernest and the Pee-wee shit? I'm not 100% because I still haven't looked that up, but I'm sure I could find out pretty quick.
Yeah,
But that's immediately what I thought.
these movies feel like they all kind of hit in the 90s, whereas like Pee-wee feels like early 80s.
Well, that's why I was curious, because I mean, Ernest started in the 80s. It started in 83 with those video series, and then there was a TV series, Hey Vern, It's Ernest, which started in 1988.
Okay.
Which again was very Pee-wee's Playhousey type of
Yeah.
thing. Oh wow, I didn't even know this shit. Pee-wee, Paul Rubens created Pee-wee in the Growlings in 1977.
The Groundlings in LA?
Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Growlings. What did I say? Growlies? Growl.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
lot of characters that come out of the Groundlings.
Yes. I just watched something on Saturday Night Live, and there was a shit, like all of Martin Short's stuff, right?
Yes.
It came from
Oh,
there.
if there's a major character on SNL that you're like they've likely come from the Groundlings, because those characters basically when you audition for SNL, you audition with characters.
So Pee-wee was created very before, but very around the same time. You know, Pee-wee really, the Pee-wee Herman show started in 1980. Ernest was created in 1983. They ran very parallel until Paul Rubens got arrested, as we mentioned earlier, in 1991, which was when this movie was released, if I said that correctly, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, 1991. So, and this was the last theatrical run. So they basically had the same, they were running parallel to each other, Pee-wee and Ernest, which is interesting because they are very similar characters, not just on screen, but if you look at the business model, for lack of a better term, from the two creators, it's like they're doing commercials, they're doing TV specials, they're popping up at events in character. You know, it's interesting and weird. And again, it's as I mentioned earlier, for the actor, it's good to be employed.
Yeah, right.
But you also want to create, so getting typecast as just this guy can be tough. I remember, because it's like when you're younger, you just know the characters, but it's like he showed up. He was the Beverly Hillbillies in '93. He did Jed Clampett.
Okay.
And I remember when that came out, and I'm like, Ernest? Like, it wasn't Jim Varney. It was Ernest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
When you're a kid, you know, I was like 13 years old at that time. You were probably 2. And,
yeah. It's like when we talked about when we did Santa with Muscles, and how he tried to get away from it, but it was like, no, you're Hulk Hogan. You can't be Terry Bollea. You're Hulk Hogan.
I don't care how many quotes you put around nicknames. Terry, Hulk, Bollea, Hogan.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. No, you're Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan,
Shut
brother.
up. You know what I mean? You're Hulk Hogan. Figure it out.
Even The Rock stopped with that silly Dwayne Johnson shit. He knows he's The Rock.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, look, he's credited as Dwayne Johnson, but every other social media is The Rock.
Go check his Instagram or Twitter. What is it? @ The Rock. Yeah. Okay. He gets where his bread is buttered.
Yeah, right. He gets it.
Yes. Rock is wonderful. I found The Rock's tequila.
Oh.
Took me 3 towns and 7 liquor stores down here on the Cape, but I found it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get a retweet from The Rock now. The best $30 I spent.
Okay. All right.
If it works. Hey, we got Ice-T to like our fucking 3,000 Miles to Graceland. Stranger things have happened.
And former WCW champion.
Yes. David Arquette. Randomly replied to us.
Yeah.
Look, David, we know you love us.
Yeah. And we'd love to have you on the show. We will scrap next week's show and do all the Scream movies if you come on the show.
That'd be wonderful. I was actually just thinking, because I was going through nostalgia. It happens when you're in pandemics.
Yeah, I've never been in one before, so.
No, apparently you deal with a lot of nostalgia. Maybe it's the other shit in my life going on. But I was going through some of my boxes, and I was like, God, I know, and I think they're at my brother's house, because when I packed a bunch of my shit, and there's a box I know exists with a bunch of not only my mother's old records from like the 70s,
Okay.
but a bunch of my old laser discs.
Oh.
And in that collection of laser discs exists the only released version of Wes Craven's director's cut of the original Scream. It was
That's
the
pretty
only
great.
time. It was never put out on VHS. It was never screened in theaters. It was never put on DVD, Blu-ray, etc., etc. It had something to do with because it was a Miramax Dimension Disney. It had something to do with Disney's policy on unrated movies at the time that it never has been put out, except on Laserdisc. And
That's crazy.
I gotta fucking find that because like that's because I don't know, I just ideas and stuff of like making like art around the house, framing it. Or something. I'm not gonna fucking watch it. My Laserdisc broke generations ago. Besides, Laserdiscs are a pain in the ass to watch. But
yeah, you have to flip them every 15 minutes.
Dude. Pulp Fiction, Criterion Collection, Laserdisc was 4 discs.
Yeah, no thank you.
That's 8 sides for one movie.
Yeah, no thank you.
It must have been
15 minutes.
Yeah, 8 fucking sides for one movie.
Yeah, no thank you.
And I had a bunch of. That's how I watched movies for a while. I mean, at the time, I was in a small little bedroom, much like this one I am in now.
Now I just tell Alexa what I want to watch, and it puts it on.
Did your phone just wake up?
No. One of my 3 Alexas did.
We're gonna wrap up because I feel like we're dragging at this point. But that was an old trick I used to do when I was on radio. I used to fucking say if you're listening to the radio, like what was it, Hey Alexa or something like that.
Yeah.
So you'd say it into the radio. So if the Alexa's listening, Hey Alexa, put WZLX on favorites or something like that. And it was we literally had memos saying do this because this will happen.
Right.
Or Hey Google, and of course my phone.
Well, you heard about that South Park episode, and yeah, that's Ernest Scared Stupid, because when we're talking about
we've gone on to technology at this point, and
yes. But there's that episode of South Park where they kept saying that, and it like add things to shopping cart, and it would just do it.
Exactly. Like there was actual memos sent out about that shit.
Yeah.
Like do this because this will happen. Oh yeah, but that's Ernest Scared Stupid. It's not on any streaming services, which I was really surprised it's not on Disney Plus. But it is available to rent for like $2.99 on all of them.
I
rented it on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did Amazon.
I did YouTube, but $2.99 you can rent it. It's a fun fucking family Halloween type of spooky movie.
Yes.
So coming up next week on That Movie Show, Eddie, you chose it, so give it a big plug.
This is absolutely one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm very excited to watch this. I absolutely love it. It is old school comedy. It is Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. You can watch this on Peacock, NBC's new Comcast's new streaming service. Yep. So you can watch it on there. There's a free and a paid version, so pick your poison.
I believe if you have Xfinity, it's included.
Yes, if you have Comcast Xfinity, then I'm pretty sure you get Peacock for free. If you're an asshole like me and have FiOS, then you gotta watch it on free or pay for it.
you have better internet and service.
Oh yeah, I do.
It's changing.
I don't have a talkie remote. Which I wish I had, but my internet is fantastic.
Verizon internet was a gem when I switched over years ago. Now I'm back to Comcast and I'm hating life. Anyway, hey, sponsor us and I'll stop talking shit about you. There you go.
Well, or we'll just take the John Oliver route and we'll still talk shit about you.
There is that as well. I wish I got that successful. Anywho, thank you for joining us for Ernest Scared Stupid here on That Movie Show. You can follow Eddie and myself on social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe. Hashtag That Movie Show. Website is thatmovieshow.net. Facebook page is facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. And do all the stuff. Rate, review, subscribe, and let us know if you want us to review anything. Because after the Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, we're getting back to just regular old reviews. So we're going to need some suggestions.
Boy, drowning out the fury.
That is coming up, isn't it? Oh man. recommend something, please, because I don't want to watch that.
It stars Kevin Sorbo and Danny Trejo.
Yes. And Danny Trejo will be on the show next week.
Danny Trejo will be on the show next week to promote Pool Boy Drowning Out the Fury.
I promise he will. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Bye, everybody.
That's Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic